What's going on, people? I thought I was done for the evening. Right when we got off of GunnerKing's court, me and Gumsa, we were given the news, potentially, that Arsenal's pre-season tour in the US will be postponed due to a minor COVID outbreak. The first thing I want to do is join Gumsa in wishing the players, the playing staff, and everyone that is involved well, hoping that they keep safe, that their families are also safe, and they're able to isolate and come back from this a lot better. Also going to add our James to his defensive. But guys, the very worrying news. Thankfully, they have caught it early. But yeah, we just thought the Armoury that we would take the time quickly to discuss the issues and the ramifications as well. So yeah, who wants to start, man?
I'll go. So for me, yeah, it's a bit of a shame that this has happened. Obviously, with how things are spiking at the moment, I'm not surprised. I don't think Arsenal will be the only team. I think Inter pulled out or are due to pull out of the friendly anyway, because I think they've had some cases.
I was hearing that the other day. I thought they were just going to pull out for the travelling, not because they actually had cases. So I thought it was just the danger of COVID.
Yeah. So that was it. Sorry, yeah.
You might be right, by the way. I'm just
no. I think you're right. I think it was that. I think they pulled. They didn't want to travel, which makes sense. Again, with how things are, imagine you go to a country and then also that country turns into a red zone country and all your players have got isolated for 10 days. It's risky anyway going abroad at the moment, isn't it? Like there's no certainty. So hopefully they caught it early. Again, I'm not too sure if that means all the players will have to isolate. Again, the rules are changing every moment. Like I had a staff member today who caught a message from the track and trace and said she had to isolate for 1 day. So it doesn't make sense, some of the rules behind it. Yeah, 1 day isolation. So you come into contact with someone and they say 1 day. So hopefully the rest of the team can still train. It might just be maybe a few more social distance or smaller sessions to get through. What this might do for Arteta, it might buy him a bit more time. So remember we were saying about he needs to get a maximum of 12 points for the first 6 games. That might extend him a bit more favoritism, because if we're one of the teams that have big disruptions to pre-season, actually it might work in his favor. He might be allowed a bit more time to mess up. So hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully we don't want anyone to catch COVID, but you're hoping it's not one of the immediate 11 who have caught it. Not saying you wish this upon the younger players, but you almost hope it's some of the French players where it won't affect the first team as much.
I think it's a player that's due to be transferred.
Imagine that. That's just Bellerin or someone that would break my heart. But yeah, so fingers crossed. And again, this is the danger of the COVID thing, isn't it? You got people all over the place at the moment, and yeah, it's bound to happen more than to Arsenal. But we caught it early, so there's still 5 weeks till the season starts. So you're hoping even if someone's out for 7 days, it doesn't affect them too much, and they can get back to like full fitness before the season starts. So yeah, fingers crossed is not too bad. And I'm glad they've caught it now rather than on the way back from America, or, do you know what I mean, a week before the season starts, 2 or 3 big players catch it. So, yeah, I think you just got to take precaution, haven't they? And it makes sense to actually cancel the whole tour, because someone might have caught it, hasn't tested positive as yet, board that plane and all of a sudden circulate through the aircon and get off the plane, and also then the whole squad is now COVID, so it makes sense to cancel the tour.
They would have been training anyway, so then this is what concerns me as well, and I'm sure you might agree, James, is that surely that would mean the whole squad would have to isolate, because if they've been training in proximity together,
it's a bit like it was a bit like the Euros with Chilwell and Mason Mount. Do you know what I mean? So there was that, and the guy was on the bus with his Scotland teammates, and then he pulled those two out. So again, sometimes you can get away with things if there's no cameras at training, and just say it, for instance, as Partey, and there's no evidence he's been near anybody. you could get away with a lesser isolation for everybody else. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. It might come down to I don't know if they're doing, or they should do, I think as well. It was so stupid what happened with Mountain and Chilwell, but essentially if you've got like your lateral flow test and then you have I can't remember what the actual test is called. PCR test where they're actually analyzing a lab, right, to see if you've got COVID. They should have something like that in place so that if the people that have tested positive are asymptomatic, test the whole squad, because I think you can get it within 24 hours, right? So if you can do that, even if we don't go to the US, then we can continue to train, because putting it rightly, I don't think we can afford not to train for 10 days, or whatever it is. Let's be honest, right?
That's a huge
we need to be training.
I mean, the preseason match as well, getting fitness into the legs of these players. They're like, they can't even train, let alone play that match. Then it just puts back everything, in terms of. And they won't reschedule anything because it's the Premier League.
No. And in terms of that week difference, it makes a massive difference. If you look at Hibs and Rangers, them lot are coming to the end of their preseason. I think their seasons, I think Hibs has got a competitive game next week and Rangers the week after. So those guys, you can see the levels in that 4 weeks. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be important. Again, they'll probably train from home if need be. You can't replicate match fitness like that, but almost. Luckily, we went through it last year a bit where they had everyone train from home, so there will be some plans in place. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't take players out for too long.
This is why we need a bigger squad as well. We need to get these signings done, because if people are coming down with COVID, this isn't going to stop for a while, I don't think. This is going to be I don't know the plans. I haven't looked too deep into it. But essentially, if we're going for herd immunity, right, it's going to take us a while to get there. We're going to need people are going to get COVID. It's going to happen because we're getting full stadiums back at the start of the season, unless something changes, right? So we've got 60,000 people coming to the Emirates. The chances of a player getting COVID are pretty high if you've got 60,000 in the stadium, right? So that we need to get our players in. So if somebody does get it, we can bring in somebody adequate. So we need to get it done, because at this rate, we're not going to have a squad to start the fucking game at Brentford or wherever it is our first game is.
Well, yeah, I think that's another relief of it being caught before we were actually out in the US as well. Because if we had to isolate there and everything, then how does that affect how we do our transfer business, right? I mean, Arteta would have been with the squad here or out in the US on a different time zone, and probably isolating as well. Wouldn't have done his rest the world of good. Trust me, I've worked in recruitment for companies in the US. On the West Coast, there's an 8-hour time zone difference. On the East Coast, there's 5. Yeah. So what I would have to do was at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I would be speaking to people in San Francisco at 9 in the morning. Daylight savings time, it would reduce it to like 7 hours, or it's the other way around, whether it's daylight savings or So it's either a 7 or an 8-hour variance, so imagine trying to do that, arranging transfers and preparation on plans on a completely different time zone, that extended period of isolation. That would have been a stressful couple of days of isolation when you should be resting and recuperating anyway, in case you have to. So thankful that obviously they caught it early. As I mentioned, everyone here at the Armoury TV, I'm sure, would like to wish the players well in the speedy recovery, and that there are no complications in any of these cases. I've seen a few tweets saying that the club are going to make an official statement very soon, so I'd expect there to be a bit more clarity on the situation. Whether they name the players personally that are involved, I'm not sure, but for me, it is what it is. We got to hope that they recover, see how they reschedule friendlies, because obviously that's a whole tour now, where either you're arranging friendlies with the remaining squad at a short notice, if they're allowed to even take part, or we just basically have to go incognito for 10 days. I see we got ourselves a troll here. But yeah, it is what it is, not really time for rivalry banter. Obviously, it's a very serious matter involving the COVID outbreak of professional footballers and human beings. So all I will say is, if this was Tottenham players, I'd be wishing them well and a speedy recovery. And it really wouldn't be the time for league table or rivalry bantering. But obviously, some kids are not quite ready to grasp that. But it is what it is. Look, I mean, any closing thoughts from anyone else?
Just take precautions. As much as the transfer frustrates us, because again, the Lukongo took how many days to be announced, but actually it shows you've got to follow some protocol. I'm not saying it's him who's brought it into the club, but again, these things happen if you don't take the right protocol. So yeah, it was frustrating seeing, Nuno and Lukongo taking so long to get over the line, but actually it shows you why it's important. And again, with them guys on holiday, we have to be mindful how we integrate them back into the team. So if a guy's just come back in from Miami or Ibiza or wherever it is, do they do a bit of isolation and train with a coach somewhere else in the training facility before they then mix with the rest of the first team? Otherwise, you're going to keep getting a spiral every time someone else comes in. So it's going to be interesting how it unfolds. And just one more thing, just want to wish Gazidis as well, regardless of what your thoughts on what his time at Arsenal. Yeah, cancer's a scary, scary thing, and wish him a speedy recovery. Did you not hear? Yeah, Gazidis is I think it's throat cancer. Let me double check. I don't want to get that wrong.
No, it is throat
you want to
cancer.
put as wrong information. Yeah, Gazidis is being diagnosed with throat cancer. So I'm also wishing him a speedy recovery. Because yeah, again, that's the C word is one of the scariest words out there, and hopefully they've caught it early and he can get the treatment he needs to, do you know what I mean, come out of the other side and live on so many more years. So yeah, best wishes with him. I haven't read too much about that, but I saw it just before we came on when I was looking for news about the outbreak. So yeah, good luck to him and fingers crossed for him and his family, and best wishes.
Yeah, and I definitely want to echo that sentiment as well. I'd like to obviously wish everyone involved with the squad a speedy recovery. I would also like to obviously take the time to wish Gazidis, the best in tackling cancer. Man, I'm not gonna put some of these comments up, but some people.
No, let's leave that out. Yeah, I wouldn't either. Mr. B,
yeah, Rick, man.
Nice to see you, and Solo. Good evening to both of you.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, but I'm not.
It's only a quick one anyway, so
trivializing the ill health of a human being. Like, you need to really seriously examine yourself. Take a long, hard look in the mirror, because it could just as easily be someone you know or love or care about. But yeah, look, really want to wish these guys a speedy recovery. I'm going to be jumping on the terrace now with Terry for a new show that they've got lined up. So if you guys want to catch me on there, feel free to do so. Guys, thanks for jumping on quickly.
No problem, brother.
No worries.